Hey y'all, it's your girl Cecilia and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to give you my February wrap-up. I read 6 books in the month of February and I had a really great reading month. Even though I didn't read as much as I did in January, I read some quality ass shit, like, you know? But I wanted to just talk to you guys about them. So when I said I read the 3 books, I'm going to give you the genre breakdowns and the rating breakdowns. I read 2 mangas, 2 contemporaries, 1 fantasy, and 1 science fiction. And for the rating breakdowns, I rated 1 3-star, 1 4-star, and 4 5-stars. Again, I swear to God. But yes, it's been a great reading month, and I just want to explain to you guys what I've read. I'm going to go from least rated to highest rated, but my 5 stars I feel like equally about all of them. I love them all so much. So the 3-star book I read was Food Wars Volume 1, and yeah, again, like I said, I gave it 3 stars. I think my issue with this manga series is that it's very food oriented, like, of course, it has Food Wars in it, but I think that this is a kind of situation where I think that the anime is going to portray this storyline better. There is a boy basically, and his father is a world-renowned chef, and he goes off to basically go accept jobs from different places around the world, and he enrolls into this culinary school, high school basically, where it's very cutthroat about cooking, and only like a very low percentage of people who actually graduate. So he's just trying to survive with his cooking skills, and it's a cute story. But again, I think that when they would just talk about like food and they would show pictures of it, I didn't get like that feeling like, oh, that actually looks good, and other than like, oh, that looks like a sad McDonald's cheeseburger, you know? I think the anime is going to portray this better, so I think I'm going to actually watch the anime as opposed to reading the series. The 4-star book I read was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This was a read for me, and I gave it 4 stars. This is the bind up, so yeah. But I love this story. This is just such a great and interesting story. Basically what it's about is that there is this man named Arthur Dent, and he basically lives on Earth. Like on one day, his house is going to be demolished to make room for a freeway, and he is really upset about this, but his friend Ford Prefect tells him like, calm down, don't worry about this, you have other bigger things to worry about. But little too Arthur knows is that they get away right in time before the Earth gets demolished to make way for a freeway. The irony. And so he is trying to get accustomed to like alien life, while Ford Prefect, he is from a different galaxy, or from a different planet, from a different galaxy, and they start basically hitchhiking around the galaxy, and it's very funny, it's very just great. There's some things that you can see that are just a little dated because this story came out quite a bit ago, but I love this book, and I'm excited to continue on with the series. I'm going to be reading the 2nd book in March, which you will see when for my March TBR, my bingo picks, my TBR. I will link it probably in the cards somewhere above. But yes, great story. Alright, on to my 5 stars. So the first 5-star I finished, which I actually finished in as I was driving here, driving to move to Texas. I actually filmed a vlog talking about it, and I will link that also up somewhere. But I read The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is fantastic. Basically it takes place, or what happens is that there is this girl named Ziamora, and she is part of a really religious family, especially, well, it's very religious from her mom's side, and she is a black Latina woman living in, I believe, Harlem. She likes to pour her frustration out into poetry, and her mom thinks that that's like the devil's work. She is trying to basically go through high school and stuff like that, but also she is not really feeling the church. She's not feeling, like, she doesn't feel her beliefs, and she doesn't know how to tell her mom or tell anything like that. And it's just such a great story. It is written in verse, like if you see right here, and it was just great. I can relate to her in some ways because I used to be religious. I used to be part of the Mormon church, but I left when I was 16, so I very much understood where she was coming from and the religious aspects of this story. Also, just from, I'm not a black Latina, I am black, white, black, white. I am mixed race, but I could very much understand where she was coming from some of these angles. And it was just such a great story. If you've not read The Poet X, what you doing, girl? What you doing? What you doing? You need to go read this. It's fantastic. Highly recommend. 5 stars. So the second 5-star book I read, which I don't know why it took me so long to read this book, because I finished the first book December of 2017, and I don't know why it took me so long. But I read The Runaway King by Jennifer A. Nielsen, and I gave this 5 stars. Ugh. You guys have probably heard me rave about The False Prince, which is the first book in the series. The Runaway King is the second book, and I think I like The Runaway King more than The False Prince. That's saying something. This book is great. Basically, this takes place, I think, about a couple weeks after the ending of the first book, and since I don't want to spoil the first book, I don't want to spoil the first book, so I'll tell you the premise of the first book. Basically, there is this boy named Sage, and he is an orphan, and he basically is just kind of like living in an orphanage, living in the slums, but there is this man named Connor. He's like Lord Connor, I think that's what his title is. And he picks up Sage and a couple of other orphans and takes them basically to his estate, and they all go to, like, are basically competing to become the false prince. So this Prince Jaren had gone missing or killed. I don't remember exactly what it was, if it was killed or missing. Either way, 4 years ago, and basically he wants one of them to basically impersonate the prince. And it's great. It's so good. I just love Jennifer A. Nielsen's characters, and her plots are just interesting. In the story, there are pirates, and I love Sage and Imogen's relationship so much. It's not a romantic relationship, but it's like a deep friendship that kind of borderlines onto relationship at times, but they know they can't be together, and it's just, I love this story. I love pretty much all the characters. I cried a little bit in this book. It's great. It's great. I highly recommend. And I'm currently reading the third book on audio, The Shadow Throne, and which is the last book, and it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. Yes, please read the series. The next book I read was a manga, and it is Magi, The Labyrinth of Magic, Volume 4. And again, 5 stars. It is great. Why I give this one 5 stars. I usually don't rate manga 5 stars, usually about 4 stars. But the reason I rated this one is because my favorite character of all time, TV shows, movies, anything, he is my man's, is Sinbad. And he is introduced in this volume. And I love Sinbad so much. Like, so much. He is just amazing to me. I remember I started off this whole series, like, into this world by watching The Adventures of Sinbad on Netflix, which you do not need to watch before getting into the Magi series. I watched it first, and I think it was actually a better introduction. It's a prequel to everything, and it just follows Sinbad. It's like a 12 episode, it's very short, but it's great. I love Sinbad so much. It's yes, that's all I'm going to say about the topic. Just, I love him. And the last book I read was, I finished this actually yesterday, and I read Blended by Sharon Draper, and I also gave this 5 stars. This book is adorable and fantastic. Basically, it follows this girl right here named Isabella, and she is mixed race. She is half black, half white. Her dad is black, and her mom is white. And her parents are divorced, and every other week she goes in between her parents' houses, basically like lives a double life. And while this time she's also battling with her identity of, she constantly throughout the novel is trying to decide, like, am I black, am I white, what is the line between this? And I related to this book so hard. Of course, I am mixed race, half black, half white, and my parents are divorced, and what did I not relate to in this story? Isabella was me. Isabella was me. She would just, I remember this, it was, she was explaining and talking about herself, and there's these little sections where she was, talking about how she felt about herself, and she was like, I never, like, people would say, oh, you're cute for being mixed, or, oh, you're so exotic looking, like, oh, she would get these, like, offhanded remarks, and I constantly get those offhanded remarks ever since I was a baby, and I totally relate to her in so many ways into this story. Also, if you are, they also talk a lot about being like a child with divorced parents, especially when you're an only child, and how difficult it really can be. That constant feeling of, am I the reason my parents split up? And I totally felt this reason. I think her parents split up when she was 8. My parents personally split up when I was 3, so different feelings, of course, like different age ranges when that happened, but it's very telling. Like everything she was explaining, I totally felt on a spiritual level. I'm like, girl, I went through that. I fucking feel you. I wish this book was around when I was a kid, because this would have helped me work out a lot of shit. I'm just saying, it would have helped me work out a lot of shit. This is the first book I've actually ever read with a mixed race protagonist, and where are they? I need more of these. I kind of want to do a discussion talking about needing mixed race representation and feeling like you're never represented in books and media in general, because I never feel represented. I rarely, if ever, see a protagonist who is mixed race, and it's such a unique experience because, especially with me, like I feel like I can never fully relate into the black experience, but I can very much never relate to the white experience. So it's very, you never really feel in place. You never feel like you belong anywhere. And she talks about this a lot in this book, and I can just feel it. Ugh. I know I will reread this whenever I'm just feeling bad about my identity or anything like that. And this, I cried so much. I want to cry now. It's just so good. Please go pick this up. It's great. Yes, that is it for my February TBR. I read some fantastic books. I really recommend pretty much everything I read this month. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books. And that's it for today, guys. I will see you in another video. Goodbye.